David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review and a giveaway. Having the chance to take a look at a brand new pen model is always fun, and today I have for you a highly anticipated model from TWSBI, and that would be the Swipe. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of the Swipe. I'm going to talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about the pen. I'm going to show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to the good folks at Atlas Stationers in the second city of Chicago for providing these pens for review. And stay tuned to the end of the review to learn how you can enter to win one of these pens for your very own. If you're not familiar with Atlas Stationers, it is a family-run business. They have a really nice location as well as a website. I like how the picture here off of Google Maps captures their annual sidewalk sale. If you are ever in the Chicago area, the store is well worth a visit. This pen marks a number of new things for TWSBI. To begin with, the pen arrives in some new packaging. This sleeve slides off, and underneath here there's a small plastic box. It pops open, and inside we have a few things. There is a little plastic bag with some important things that I'll show you here in a bit. There is a little instruction sheet which relates to the contents of the bag. And something I noticed which is not included in here is like any type of general use and care guide. TWSBI typically has some kind of diagram on the box or something like that. One of the great things about TWSBI pens is how easy they are to disassemble. And if you're new to the brand or new to fountain pens, you might not know that. And then inside we have the pen. This is the TWSBI Swipe. It's available in two colors. This is the Prussian blue, and then it is also available in this smoke. And then here's a look at both of them together. They look pretty sharp together. The pens are made from an injection molded plastic. While it is lightweight, I wouldn't categorize this pen as feeling cheap or inexpensive. It has more of a traditional pen look to it. I've seen several posts on social media where people have had their Go's or their Ecos mistaken for vape pens. I don't think that that's going to happen here with the Swipe. Let's start by taking a look at the top of the cap. It contains the TWSBI logo in a red plastic insert into the top. I've always thought the TWSBI logo looked rather cool. You can tell here the cap is round. And then here's a look at the unique clip. It has a swooped design at the top. The clip is wide and has a rather low profile. The clip is very stiff. I find it works fine with thinner materials, but it does have some challenges with thicker materials. There is no traditional cap band on the end of this cap, and at the very end of the cap, it has a very small step down to the barrel, which begins with a generous ink window. You can also see in here that there's a spring, which I'll give you a closer look at here in a bit. The barrel is rounded to begin with, but shortly after the ink window, it transitions into a pentagonal shape with rounded and faceted transitions. What I mean by that is the pentagonal shape doesn't have like sharp corners. They're rounded and separated by small flat transitions. The barrel tapers down. At the end, it is flat with the little mark where the gate injected the plastic into the mold in order to make the barrel of this pen. The cap snaps off. I feel the tension is appropriate for this cap. It's not too tight, but it's secure when capped. And underneath, we have this fairly small stainless steel nib. This is the same size nib that you will find on the TWSBI Eco as well as the Go. It is available in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and a 1.1 stub. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section begins with a ridge, which is used in the capping mechanism, and then there's a flare transitioning to the remainder of the section, which angles up slightly. Now, I typically grip my pens close to the end of the section, and at first glance, I thought my grip would gravitate towards that swell between the crests there, but I don't find that to be the case. On both the TWSBI Go and the Eco, the section has three triangulated protrusions at the very end. That area is rounded here on the Swipe. I really like how you get a great look at the inner workings of this section through the transparent material. When you ink the pen up, it's cool that you can see the ink filling in around the feed, and it really can add a pop of color to the pen, depending on your ink of choice. Then there's a small step up to the ink window where you can see the aforementioned spring. The swipe is long enough to use unposted. The cap does post, and it does post securely. The cap is very light, so I don't feel it backweights the pen or throws off the balance at all. I like that the transition to the cap is well past my hand, so the edge doesn't rub up against my palm. But for this particular pen, that wouldn't be an issue because I don't find the edge of the cap to be sharp at all. Something else I like is that even though the barrel is faceted, you don't need to mess around with orienting the cap in a particular way when posted. That it fits on here just fine. Okay, now for something unique. This is a cartridge converter pen, but if you purchase this pen in the US, then you will actually receive 2 different filling systems. Well, 3 if you count the cartridge. But what's loaded in here right now is the spring-loaded plunger filler. You can see inside there's a little plastic ball which serves as an agitator. This spring is rather strong, and when you're using the plunger, you depress it, you insert it into the bottled ink of your choice, and you release it. I would recommend easing the plunger back, meaning you don't want to just let it go, because this spring is rather strong, and strong enough that it could actually launch the converter out of the pen. And if you did that when it was full of ink, that would be a bad thing. And here is the other converter that you receive, which is more of a traditional one. I do like on this one how when you extend the piston, or actually retract it, it kind of locks into place a bit. And that's a nice little feature to give you a tactile sensation when this piston had reached the end. The tips of the end of both the plunger and the piston converters are standard international, but they're much thicker than your standard converter. So while they are standard international, they might not fit well in other pens, mainly due to the girth. Also included with the pen is a new TWSBI ink cartridge. Like the converters, this is larger than your standard cartridge. When you purchased additional TWSBI cartridges, they come in this very cool box. During the size comparisons, I'll give you a closer look at this box and show you how the cartridges and converters compare to what you're used to seeing. I like the size of all 3 of these a lot. The TWSBI Swipe is widely available and sells everywhere for $26.99. I'll put a link in the notes below where you can see this pen at the Atlas Stationers site. At $27, that puts the Swipe right between the Go, which is $19, and the Eco, which is $33. I feel that $27 for the Swipe is a very reasonable price point. There is a lot to like about this pen. I've been a fan of TWSBI, and I feel that this is a solid addition to their lower-end lineup. Thanks again go out to the good folks at Atlas Stationers for providing these pens for review. If you would care for a chance to win this Smoke model, which is a fine nib, all you need to do is be a subscriber to this channel, throw a like on this video, and leave a comment below in YouTube. If you would care for a second chance at winning, you could also enter on Instagram, where I am at Figboot11. All you need to do there is follow my feed, if you don't do so already, and find the recent post where I showed off these pens, and leave a like and comment there as well. So if you follow, like, and comment in both places, then you can double your chances at winning. Complete contest details can be found in the notes below this video. In regard to a comment topic, since Chicago is known as the second city, why don't you let me know what the second fountain pen you ever purchased was, and what drew you to that pen. My first pen I ever purchased was a Lamy All-Star, and then I was gifted a few pens, but the second one I purchased was a Pilot Metropolitan. It's been a while since I've inked that one up, but it served me well for quite some time. Okay. Back to the pen at hand. Now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. To begin with, I wanted to show you some comparisons. This is a standard international cartridge that you're used to, and this is the significantly larger new TWSBI model. Post-production David here. You know that when you hear from me, it's because I forgot something, and that is the cartridge case. Additional cartridges come in this cool little case. It kind of reminds me of an old cigarette case. Not that cigarettes were cool, but I think the cases were. Anyways, back to the review. And then here is the converters. That is the new TWSBI converter, and then this is a regular standard international converter. So you can see it's just overall much larger. Here's a closer look at that smoke model. That it's really nice. And then also what I wanted to show you is included in that little bag is an additional spring. And that's what these instructions are for. These instructions basically are showing that, hey, when you have a cartridge in here, you could put the spring in the back, and that kind of puts additional pressure on the cartridge so that it makes sure that it stays in. So when you have a cartridge in here, now let me see if I can do this without actually piercing the cartridge, but you put that here in the back, and then you can go ahead and close this up, and then the cartridge is in here securely. Okay, here we go with some size comparisons for the TWSBI Swipe. Here it is with a Eco, and then here it is with a Go, both from TWSBI, and then here it is with a TWSBI VAC 700 Iris, which was a really cool model that they had. I think what really is neat is the tipping that they have here on the nib. I think that is very cool, and that's what it looks like in comparison to the other TWSBIs. And in regard to some non-TWSBI models, here it is with a Kaweco Skyline Sport and a Lamy Safari, and then here it is with a Pilot Metropolitan. In regard to uncapped comparisons, this is what it looks like with a Safari, and then this is what it looks like with a Go, and here it is with the Eco. Now, something I noticed here is you could see now that at the beginning of the section there is no ink, and this is full here at the back of the plunger. And even when I tilt it down just slightly, it takes a little bit in order for the ink to flow down there. I think that there's a bit of surface tension around the spring, and so the ink doesn't necessarily, at sometimes can get a little bit stuck. And so that you have to jiggle it around a little bit in order to break that surface tension in order for it to flow down. Now, I haven't experienced any issues with this during normal use. You're jiggling it around a little bit and that isn't become an issue, but I just thought that was something interesting. And here we go with the writing sample for the TWSBI Swipe. This is a medium stainless steel nib, and the ink I'm using is Diplomat Purple. This is what the ink looks like. It's a nice deep purple, something very similar to the Ferris Wheel Press Grape Ice Pop. And then this is what it looks like with the Iroshizuku Yamabudo, which is a little bit more on the redder side of purple. This is what the ink bottles look like. Nice little ink bottles with a decent sized lid to it. And these inks are also available at Atlas stationers as well. I'll put a link to these in the notes below. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. For the price point, I think this nib is outstanding. I've always enjoyed TWSBI's nibs. You're not going to get a lot of line variation out of this steel nib, but the ink flow for this medium nib is really nice. In regard to reverse writing, it's a little scratchy, but it gets the job done. And in regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up just fine. So here we have the TWSBI Swipe. This is something that I think is a really good addition to the TWSBI lineup, something a little bit different from them at the lower end of the scale, which I think fits in well, and it performs outstanding. And don't forget to enter in order to make this smoke model your very own. Okay, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.